Thank you so much for joining us today. Just a quick round of introductions, and then we'll dive right into this session. My name is Seth Siciliano. I work in Google Cloud's Alliance organization, and I run our Collaboration and Workspace ISV ecosystem program. I've been at Google 14 years. That entire time has been dedicated to customer-facing, partner-facing roles, 100% committed to both Workspace and Google Cloud. So today's topic about supercharging digital employee experiences with Workspace is one very near and dear to my heart and my career here at Google. So I'm honored and excited to be here. With me is my esteemed partner, John Radko from OpenText. John, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm the Senior Vice President of Enterprise Engineering for OpenText, so I lead the product groups for content management, business network, digital experience, and platform, and I'm really excited to be here. Google's a major partner of ours, especially for all of the engineering teams I lead, and we're really excited to share with you what we're doing with Google Workspace.
Great. So without further ado, we're going to dive into the content. At the end of the session, we have a microphone right up here in this aisle over here. We'll be taking questions, so if you have any, write them down, hold them, and then please feel free to ask those at the end of the session. We're going to go through a little bit about the OpenText and Google Cloud partnership, what it means for us, each other, as two different companies partnering together, but hopefully, much more importantly, what it means for our joint customers. We are going to dive a little bit into, obviously, our new product offering that we want to talk to you about, Core for Google Workspace. Most importantly, we are going to show you what I'm told is a wicked cool demo. And I've been told to describe it every time as a wicked, cool demo. So we'll get to that point here in the session, and then, like I mentioned earlier, take questions.
Okay. Thanks. Go ahead and take me to the next slide, if you would mind. I just want to tell you a little bit about OpenText, because I know everyone's not familiar with us. OpenText is probably the largest software company that most people have never heard of. We are the largest software company in Canada, and we like to think of ourselves as the information company. We help enterprises manage their information so they can work smarter. That's our whole theme, working smarter, whether it's around general content management or around digital experience, which can include customer communications management as well as web experience management, or in the area of B2B transactions with the OpenText Business Network. Also, outside of the areas I lead, we have a major cybersecurity business unit, which include things like ArcSight, which is a security events manager, as well as Encase for forensics, WebRoot, and Carbonite. Some people may be WebRoot or Carbonite customers in the room. And then finally, with our recent acquisition of Micro Focus, we also do mainframe modernization. Yes, we are one of the last providers of a COBOL compiler, I think, on the planet Earth. So OpenText has a widespread portfolio of products, but what unifies them all together is information. And we pride ourselves on meeting customers where they are. And what I mean by that is wherever customers want to be generating and collaborating on content, we're going to be working with them there. And that's what's led us to this stage today with Google Workspace. Now, I want to talk a little bit about why OpenText and Google. This is a fantastic partnership. And I don't just say that lightly. The best technology partnerships build from the strengths of each company. And so if you think about what Google's good at, we started this partnership 5 years ago because customers wanted to use our software in GCP. And so we built a whole practice with Google around operating our software in GCP. But that was just the beginning. Google helped us on our containerization journey to help us modernize our software so it could deploy. And they also helped us understand that a lot of customers were adopting Workspace. And that was where the content we managed for many customers was going to be generated. So we wanted to partner with them to do that. That partnership and evolution, you're going to see the fruits of it today. But I also want you to know it continues to evolve. And we'll give kind of a teaser of some of the aviator work we're doing at OpenText with Google Vertex.
So, as John was talking about, our partnership started 5 years ago, and it started around a modernization journey with their OpenText customers wanting to run in GCP. But the partnership is so much more than that today. Today, Google Cloud is one of the preferred cloud provider for OpenText. And we do a variety of things that John already mentioned, and we're going to talk about a few of them here today. Secondly, they are absolutely a strategic partner for us, delivering for our customers delivering enterprise scale information management solutions across the board, and they've been doing that for years. If you take that experience of OpenText and you couple it with Google's leading spot as a cloud computing vendor, bringing to market some of the very first enterprise solutions, SaaS, platform, and infrastructure, and bring those two technology stacks together, that is really at the core of what we feel makes this partnership so valuable. You have a legacy experience in information management, security, and modernization. You have a leading cloud provider helping companies innovate and modernize, and you bring those two things together, and that provides amazing value for our joint customers.
I want to give you a little flavor of what we've done with the partnership, then we're going to drill into core content for Google Workspace. First, we're using Google Workspace for its embedded generative AI capabilities. That's our BN Aviator program. We use that across our Experience Suite, where customers can generate content for outbound marketing communications inside of our Extreme product. We're also using that starting in our fourth quarter release in core content to allow customers to summarize documents and summarize information about a business workspace, which I'll talk about in a little bit. We also have an integration with our Experience Suite, where customers who are using our Experience Suite for marketing, whether it's outbound or receiving inbound, can integrate to audience management tools on Google, because Google is used by most of our customers for their web marketing efforts. So again, it's that idea of integrating to the strengths of each company so that customers can get the most out of the combination without having to change how they're working.
Okay, so a little bit more of a flavor as well about some of the joint solutions from OpenText, because before we dive into Core for Workspace, we really want to land the point about the breadth and depth of this partnership and what it means for our customers. So we talked about modernization. The word innovation is a word people use a lot. The word innovation, I think, gets thrown around a lot, but to really be able to innovate for both yourself and your customers, you need to modernize first. And a lot of what OpenText and Google do is helping companies modernize. John talked about mainframe modernization and our dual run solution, but there's a host of other ways that we help organizations modernize before they can open up the ability to innovate together. The second thing is really around security. So both Google and OpenText have been leaders in the security space for a number of years, but in very different ways. So whether it's the information management solutions, the security solutions that John talked about, OpenText has a really strong history there, and so does Google. By providing that, we've seen all across this show today, and you see in every other talk, in every other event in IT, that data is absolutely the foundational building block of almost any company strategy today. In fact, most companies no longer identify themselves with the core business they're in. They describe themselves as data companies. So bringing together two vendors, helping companies organize and secure that data is also a huge benefit of this partnership. And then finally, the speed to innovation. When you've got the modernization down, when you've got the innovation engine churning, the speed to innovation is truly something that helps bring things to light and where I think this partnership shines. We started talking about this product over a year ago that we're helping launch right now. We started talking about this demo 3 months ago. Yet in the last 3 months, the way this partnership is built, we have actually evolved this talk that we're giving right now and what this product looks like, centered around things like Aviator and Google AI with Google Cloud, with Vertex AI. And that only is possible when the speed to market and the speed of innovation is there.
So we've been talking a lot about Core for Google Workspace. Let me talk a little bit about what it is, if we can move to the next slide. Google Workspace is a fantastic product. It's even more fantastic than I thought it was yesterday, having seen the demos this morning. But there's an interesting question. So one of the cool demos, I don't know, did everyone see the demo where they created the slide presentation dynamically from Looker, I think it was? That was amazing. Okay, now we're going to present that to someone, to a customer, to an executive. What happens then? Because most of the use cases we're talking about are individuals, right? It's on my drive, it's local, it's here. One of the challenges for large enterprises today is there's two worlds. There's this really dynamic, fast-moving world right? Where you're using productivity suites and you can collaboratively edit and everything. And then there's like this other world of controlled data, records management, approvals flows, digital signatures. And now I need to bring those two together. And how do we interface those two in a way that works for users? And I'm not even talking about the third world. The third world is the applications we live inside of. For many of us, collaborative tools are where we live. That could be something like Workspace or Teams or something else. But for many people, they live inside one application predominantly, an SAP or a Salesforce. So what we're trying to do with core content for Google Workspace is to bring those three worlds together in a way that works for end users so that they can get all the value out of it. But one caveat before we talk a little more about it, we don't want to lose the good that's in each world. So in other words, I can't put documents that originated in Google Workspace under enterprise control by tearing it out of Google Workspace and sticking it somewhere. It has to still live there, right? You still have to be able to collaboratively edit. You've still got to get all the good stuff so that every time we come back to Google Next and they get up there on the stage and tell you all the cool stuff they've done for Workspace, it still works with everything. But we need some more controls and we need some more capabilities that are part of enterprise content management. And that's what this is all about.
So one of the things I want to hit on one more time and a little bit deeper is kind of what the value of working together really means for our customers. Smarter digital experiences, Google was at the very beginning of the SaaS collaboration evolution or revolution a number of years ago. In fact, we helped define and drive that change. And really what we've been doing is we've been helping change the way people do work all around the world for the better half of 15 or 16 years in the product suite that we call Google Workspace today. And at the heart of that product suite is really collaboration. And one of the things that Workspace did is it drove a fundamental shift in the way employees work together, the way they get together, the way they talk, the way they create, the way they do their job on a day-to-day basis. Workspace was at the heart of driving that. Now, the key thing about Google Workspace, which I think we're trying to land here today, is that Workspace, besides being a product, more importantly, is a platform. And it's a platform that allows an ecosystem to grow around it of strong partners, whether it be OpenText, but partners that can extend the ability into individual use cases of a company, a vertical, an industry, a geography. And that platform approach helps bring scalable and secure solutions to our customers. And finally, it's just best of breed content management. And at the end of the day, it has to be best of breed, and what John was saying earlier, it has to integrate into those applications that your users use today on a daily basis, whether it be Salesforce or SAP or something else.
All right.
Okay, so the wicked cool demo, right?
So a confession first. This is a recorded demo. I freely admit that. We had many adventures when we were getting ready to do this, but if there are doubters in the room, and I'm a doubter, so it's fine, you can walk over to the booth. I challenge you to find the booth with a guy wearing goggles in an office chair is rocketing up with rocket engines. It's in that direction. And Torsten will show you this demo live, as well as some other demos. So we wanted to make sure that we spent our time on the features, so I did that. One other caveat. Long before the Google OpenText partnership, we each decided to use a word. This is not uncommon in the technology sector, and that word is Workspace. So you're going to hear a lot about workspaces and taking documents from Google Workspace and putting them into a business workspace. So I'll be very careful to say business workspace. When I talk about business workspace, it's an entity, it's a location that I'm going to talk a little bit about that's part of core content. Everybody with me? Okay. So the first thing I wanted to show was just the home interface. This is not going to be the world's... Are we going?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. Oh, let me go back. Can you take me back?
I can do that.
Okay. This is our content management system. Whoop. See, this is why I gave you the heads up. This is our home interface. I won't run the, okay. Our home interface, and what it has is it has an enterprise repository, it's got folders, and it's got a few other things that may not be obvious. So let me talk through it. I'm gonna have to play it, I guess. Okay, here you're gonna see integration to Salesforce. There you're gonna see integration to SAP. I don't know what it's doing here. Apologies.
Yep, I'm gonna pause it for you. You may pause it.
Okay, so on that home screen, you have a pretty typical content management type system. You can drill into enterprise data. Now, what's the difference between this and a folder structure? This is corporate data. So this will be data about your customers, it'll be about your projects, maybe your departments. Thanks. And it gives you your home page here. I want you to remember this interface, because if this doesn't seem like an interface someone might want to use like a salesperson, we're going to address that in a few minutes, okay? Over here, the pointers to this global trade. Global trade looks like it might be a file, but it's not. And I want to talk about this because this is such a critical concept for us. Is it going or do I have to? All right.
Yeah, I'll just pause it for
you. There we go. Okay, thanks. So this is the business workspace I talked about, and it's global trade. Global trade is a customer. Everybody knows what a customer is, right? So as we go over, wait, did it keep going?
Yep, I'll pause it for you.
Okay, if we can go back. We can have multiple business workspaces tied together. So you have a customer, you have projects, you have bills, you have RFPs that are pending, sales opportunities, invoices, and the whole idea of a business workspace is that you create a structure in your system that ties together documents, workflows, and metadata. That's what we're seeing here. So this at the top is metadata. And what I want to, because of this is a customer, the metadata is actually being pulled over from Salesforce. This structure under here, the folder structure, that's a standard. Whenever I create a customer and I pull the data over from Salesforce, I will create this structure. All right.
You tell me when to play and I'll just hit pause.
I'll go here. We'll just remote control it a little more intensely.
Go for it. You tell me what to do.
Apologies for the technical difficulties. Okay. So this is the business workspace. On the top, you'll see the metadata. Why does this even matter? Because sometimes you want some structure to your information. We talk about content in context. This could be in this case, it links over to Salesforce. But if it was a project, it could be a link to a project management system. We could have a project manager who's assigned to it. This is metadata that's not in any of the documents. So let me move forward a little bit and talk about the Google Workspace integration. Here, what you'll see is related workspaces. So each of these is a workspace that you could go to that has its own folder structure, its own workflows, and these are also tied in. One is tied into Salesforce, one is tied into SAP. Now let's drill into a given folder. And what we're doing here is we're looking at the properties of a folder. This is all additive to what Google Workspace does. We can associate metadata and track specific versions. The versions come over from the Google Workspace. Now this is a Google Doc, but we can do the exact same thing for any other docs, PDFs, Word docs, all in that same workspace. Now these are actually stored in different places, and you can see we have the ability to open those documents up in Google Docs and apply different features as we go. So now we're going to drill in and take a look at an actual document. And you can see that we're opening this particular document, the contract. This is in Google Docs. You'll see up there it's a Google Docs. It has single sign-in across the two so that end users are working where they're most comfortable. They can go into Google Workspace. We're going to show in a moment how to add a new document. As we hover over here, these are some of the capabilities that core content brings. The ability to place retention policies. Once you have a contract, if you retain it for a certain amount of period, that's a policy associated with the contract workspace. And you get that for free, as it were, if you move your contract, if you go ahead and add it to the business workspace. Likewise, you can request a signature, and core content will manage the gathering of that signature. You can also insert it for a workflow. So one of the documents we're going to show later is we're going to pull a pitch in. It's a pitch deck to a customer. That's a fairly common scenario. In fact, some of the really cool workspace demos I've seen have shown AI to help generate a pitch deck for a customer. But maybe in your organization, those decks get reviewed before they go out, like these decks did for this event. You can actually put it into a workflow and it'll track it, but it never leaves Google Drive. It stays in there the whole time. So now we're going to add a document from Google Drive. And I'm going to capture this as we go in. We're going to your local Google Drive. We're going into the global trade folder. We're going to select a document, and we're going to add it back into the business workspace. There's a couple of key points I want to make here in just a moment. What's going on here, first, just like when you're uploading from your local drive, this is taking a copy, and this is going to be a controlled copy in the business workspace. What's going on here, it's so subtle you could miss it, is we're adding metadata. We picked a type. This is a Salesforce contract, and so we'll talk about has it been signed and what's the signing date. So we've associated metadata for this that'll go in the business workspace and will stay with the document for the rest of its life, as long as it's in core content. You can add whatever metadata you want, and that's part of what makes it an enterprise content management system, the ability to do that. The last thing I really wanted to show here was we talked earlier about meeting customers where they are. And in this case, what we're demonstrating is our Salesforce integration. I'm going to pause it for a moment. This is, anyone recognize Salesforce.com? Anyone familiar with the Salesforce? Okay. This is the Salesforce excellent, thanks. This is the Salesforce interface, but you may not be used to seeing this Documents tab, because that's coming from core content, and it's a view into a business workspace that's associated. Earlier, I showed you the metadata in the other system. This is the exact same set of data, but someone working here is able to actually interact with content directly in Salesforce. Now, that content will be subject to all the same enterprise rules and policies that are present. So in this case, what you're going to see is we're importing a pitch deck from Google Drive. We go in, we navigate into the folder, we select the deck, and we're going to bring it up. It's in the meetings. So it'll get added here. And now, just to prove it, we're going to open it up. Now, I apologize for the glitches with the recording here, but what I want to explain is what's going on here. Someone's able to go in Salesforce. They're able to pull a document off of Google Drive. Maybe it's something they used Duet to generate. Maybe they did it the old-fashioned way. But now it's associated to a meeting that's in Salesforce with that Documents tab. Well, why do you care? Let me turn it around for a second. We're in a bunch of HR processes back at the ranch right now, and the ability to go from our HR system into documents and back and forth is really helpful. For sales leaders, it's the same thing. When I'm visiting a client as an executive sponsor, I want to know what the client was told. If I can go into Salesforce and I can go find a list of the last meetings and look at the decks and maybe copy them and understand and ask people questions about it, that's very powerful. A lot of people in our organization don't necessarily have access to Salesforce. They may not have access to SAP. But by using this integration, we'll have the business workspaces integrated across. The net here, and that is the end of the demo, the net here is that Google Workspace is a fantastic collaboration platform. But it can be even more powerful by layering on enterprise-level features that let you put policies, that let you organize the content into an enterprise frame, and that let you give that content in context.
We're excited about the partnership and what we're doing together, and hope you have a fantastic week here at Google Cloud Next. Thank you so much.